This is Made in America with Neil Asbury and Rich Rothman.
A very big welcome to you today. I'm Neil Asbury, together with co-host Dr. Rich Rothman. So, Rich, our small businesses have been getting hammered. I mean, it's been relentless. I mean, the COVID lockdowns and shutdowns put so many of us out of business or just right on the cusp. Then we get hit with the supply chain crisis and, just getting product to sell. As you can see in many of our stores, the shelves are bare. This is continuing on. I'm an American manufacturer, getting raw materials to run our plants. Whether they're domestically sourced or sourced from overseas, it really makes no difference. I mean, you just can't get stuff to make stuff. And now we have the Biden inflation. Of course, it's everybody else's fault except Joe's fault. But this is, make no mistake, this is the Biden inflation. There are solutions to this. Hey, let's get our energy policy in order. But Rich, there just doesn't seem to be any good news coming out of this. I just don't see. I mean, we're got our backs against the wall. You'd think this president would finally want to do something. The midterms are coming.
Well, when you're controlled by the far left, and you're literally in lockstep with them, there's nothing you can do about it. He is not going to change. It's not going to happen. He can't do that. He has to stay where he is, or he threatens to lose his base. He loses his base, the Democrats lose power. So he's not going to do anything. The sad part of it is, the reality of it is, the flip of that is that he's going to lose most of the country. Because most of the country is suffering right now. And they're suffering and they're saying, why am I suffering? We have all the energy we need in the world that's sitting right here. We had closed borders, now we have open borders. We have Russia under control, China under control, the Mideast under control, North Korea under control. That's all gone. That's not working very well right now. I am paying 2.5 times what I paid for gasoline at the start of his administration, and I'm paying 2 to 3 times for food that I was paying a year ago, and most of this started before Putin invaded the Ukraine. So they're looking around and they're scratching their heads and saying, where did we go wrong? And if you understand your alphabet, it's B.
Well said. I mean, unfortunately, it's true. But, what are we going to do about this? And, how is it hurting our small businesses? After all, that is the backbone of our economy. We're very pleased to have with us right now Kevin Kuhlman, who is the Vice President of NFIB, which is the National Federation of Independent Business. Kevin, welcome to Made in America.
Thank you, Neil, and thank you, Rich. Appreciate the opportunity.
So tell us, what is the pain being felt by your members right now, and what do they think we should be doing about it?
Well, Neil, you identified many of the challenges, and the hits just keep on coming. Unfortunately, the news continues to be bad as well, whether it's over the past 2 years. Certainly there have been workforce challenges. Then you move into supply chain, the COVID lockdowns and restrictions, supply chain disruptions coming out of it, and now rising and prevalent inflation. And that's really is a problem for small business owners. Inflation is a tax for small business. And we're in an environment where small businesses need assistance. They need certainty in order to recover and survive this fragile Main Street recovery. Unfortunately, the bad news keeps on coming.
Kevin, when you look at things out there right now, there's a little bit of a contradiction. I mean, we're hearing really strong employment numbers. And we see very, very low unemployment. However, we're seeing interest rates increasing. We're seeing inflation over 8%. The economy shrunk in Q1, could be in Q2. And so it's with these employment numbers, Rich, what do you think? I mean,
I think you have to look at the numbers, because you're right. We have low unemployment right now, and we have adding jobs and so forth. We're not creating jobs. We're getting people back to work. There's a big difference. But look at the U6. Look at the entire universe that we're talking about, and the U6 really tells you what's going on, and that's a weak number. That's a down number, not an up number.
and which is the people that's in the job force that's not going back to work.
That's the totality.
Right, the totality of the workforce. So what's small businesses doing right now? I mean, how do you see that, Kevin? I mean, the employment numbers on face value look pretty good.
Certainly. Yeah, the unemployment rate is very low, but there isn't enough labor participation. Half of small business owners have positions they're unable to fill. In response to that, they are doing everything they possibly can, increasing compensation, adding new benefits to compete for employees, but it's just not enough. They're just finding little to no qualified applicants for their open positions, and this is particularly acute in certain industries, such as construction or manufacturing. These that do take a little bit higher skill are having a really tough time, and that just kind of creates ripple effects for the rest of the economy as well.
But with the interest rates and what we're seeing in the overall economy and actually the economy in decline in Q1, and I think a lot of people believe that the numbers will be similar in Q2. I mean, how long can these employment numbers stick if the economy is not going well and interest rates are going up and inflation is soaring and supply chain is still all messed up? You can't get product to run your factories. I mean, how long can these employment numbers hold?
That's a good question. I mean, small business owners have are expecting a lot of bad news. We ask a question in our monthly survey: what is your expected business conditions over the next 6 months? That's the lowest reading it's been in the 50-year history of the survey. That's
Wow.
right around election time, too, 6 months from now. So the bad news is happening now, and they don't expect it to get any better in the immediate future.
50-year low.
No. That's exactly correct. Listen, when the numbers came out for quarter one, Q1, and we were a negative integer, negative 1.43, 1.42, bad news. If we have one more quarter going in that direction, and why won't we? What are we seeing right now, as our guest is aptly pointing out? Where's the optimism? Where's the vertical in the economy that we can look at and say, wait a minute, it's going to turn because of this. But that's not what we're hearing. What we're hearing is that it's not turning because of anything, because the plan isn't there to make it turn. And that's what the small, I'm a small business. You by definition are small, but you're not. I mean, you're a big business compared to me. Oh my God. But I'm a small business. I'm 26 and under. And we need help. We've got to figure out where the economy is going to be. And I got to tell you, the more we listen to it, look, we had Steve Forbes on just a couple of weeks ago for about 20 minutes. And Steve was telling us there's a recession around the corner. You start hearing that more and more and more. People start thinking that way. We got one more quarter, Neil, going into the summer. We're in a recession. And a ton of people out there right now, we've got a bunch of sound bites, you want to play it, that are saying it's inevitable. That's the word that was used a few weeks ago. We have a thing from Steve Moore saying we're in a very, actually we could play this right now. There's a clip for Steve Moore that he's explaining very, very, very concisely. Number 11. Phil, could you please hit number 11?
I think there's a really, really dangerous time for the American economy.
That's Steve Moore. Now, we know him well.
Well, he was just on recently as well.
Right. That's our average Steve Moore, Kudlow. We've had all these guys. And what are they saying? I mean, this is unbelievable right now. And we're looking for some where's the optimism?
Hey, Kevin, before you answer that, I want to also play a clip from Senator Rick Scott. He's basically saying that President Biden just needs to get out of the way. He just should get out of the way. There's no solutions coming from him.
Look at what his accomplishments. It's the opposite. I mean, we're in horrible shape. He doesn't even know what state I'm from. I mean, you said he was supposed to give his ideas on inflation yesterday. What were his ideas? Oh, it's everybody else's fault but his. So we know he can't do it. Let's be honest. We know that Joe Biden cannot fix this economy. All right? Get out of the way. Let somebody else do it.
Kevin, what do you think about that?
Well, that is Senator Rick Scott from Florida, not Wisconsin. But, it brings a good point about all the challenges and kind of the lack of answers. We've seen a lot of proposals from the administration, notably the Build Back Better Act or his 2023 budget, that would put new taxes and new mandates on small business owners. And obviously he is not speaking to small business owners. He has other people in mind, others who interests are in mind. But the attitude is we need just more labor laws on people. We need increased environmental regulations. And these will get small business owners in a defensive crouch and not what we need to be coming out and to avoid a recession, which could be inevitable. But if we do fall into that, one that we'd want to recover from quickly.
Kevin, we got about 30 seconds. Is there any part of the economy right now where your members are doing well?
Look,
Where there's optimism?
Consumer demand is still strong. That might be a unique part of the economy that we have going on right now versus previous recessions. So you hope if it does occur, that the recovery would be quick outside of it. But really, small business owners need certainty. They need a boost of optimism and confidence to grow, expand, and do what they do best.
Well, Kevin, hey, look, man, you've been a great guest. Really pleased to have you with us today. Kevin Kuhlman, he is the Vice President of the National Federation of Independent Business. Thanks for being with us, Kevin.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Coming up, Dr. Rothman and I have a lot more to share, man. We have just got started. Stay with us. Welcome to Made in America. I'm your host, Neil Asbury, and we're together with today the one and only Dr. Rich Rothman. Rich, as usual, he's on a roll. He's all fired up. We're going to keep him all fired up with this next topic. We're going to talk about food, or potentially the lack of food.
No, there's a common denominator.
And that is?
100% of the people out there have the same feeling for it. They all eat.
Yeah.
They all eat.
And
getting expensive.
It's getting really expensive. And we're talking inflation, so I think it's only natural now that we talk about
everyone's eating except the
impact.
babies, evidently. Wait a minute. I want to
wow.
paraphrase. Everyone's eating. Everyone's concerned. The babies aren't eating right now, but they're going to have a meeting about it.
Yeah, and I still don't understand that one. I just don't understand that one. I was in Hong Kong, well, before the pandemic, but just before, and there was a lack of baby food in Hong Kong, formula in Hong Kong. And I said, wow, that would never happen in this country. I mean, it would never happen in America. But the lack of baby formula in Hong Kong was being created by the Chinese, the mainland Chinese, coming across the border and buying all the baby formula. Because although they had baby formula in China, and even the same brands that they would buy in Hong Kong, the American brands, they love the American brands when it comes to baby formula. The Chinese were coming across and buying it all because they didn't trust the Chinese manufacturers, even though it was an American brand, made in China baby formula. I mean, it was like they didn't trust it. They didn't want it. So they're coming across the border, and everything in Hong Kong was wiped out and being brought back across over to Shenzhen, over into South China.
I can understand why they wouldn't trust the Chinese brand.
So you understand. So
it works.
So there was a reason. You understand that.
No, really. I mean, we've all been there. Wait a minute.
But
you
why
buy the
in our country?
Prada, they misspelled the word Prada. I mean, that's a dead giveaway. If they're going to misspell the word Prada, what are they going to do to baby formula? I'm not using it.
Well, there you go. They're not using it. And by the way, I don't think the vaccine is working real well either. And I think that's a big problem.
Let me see. Which one do you want, Chinese or Pfizer? That's a tough one.
Well, okay. So we're talking about baby formula.
Yeah.
So there we go. Hong Kong is running baby formula because they don't trust the Chinese product, and you get that. But here in America, how is this happening in our country? It should never happen. And I'm talking about the kids. And I'm talking about, gasoline and all of that, and everybody sees it at the pump, and it's a really, really big deal. But okay, it's part of the green energy, Green New Deal agenda, the green energy agenda. Okay, make gasoline really expensive. Maybe they got some reason for doing this, right? It's part of their agenda. But what would be their agenda for having no baby formula in America? I mean, that just makes no sense to me whatsoever. Hey, you want to lose an election really big and you want a historic red wave, no baby formula in the stores, that's a really kitchen table issue. That's mom.
You don't mess with Mama Bear.
Don't mess with Mom.
What do you think happened in Virginia? They messed with Mama Bear and the parents. You mess with parents and their kids, you're going down a dark hole. It is a bad rabbit hole to go down, and you don't want to do that. I think, to be very honest with you, the Babygate, the situation they've created, this last few weeks, is going to be as devastating as anything that Biden has faced. That's devastating. Do not get between a mother and her child. Don't ever do that.
And that's what's happening.
Survival comes out.
But Rich, it goes deeper than that, because the cost of fertilizer in this country that we need to grow our food. And if you go and see the inflation on food, it's unbelievable. Go to any restaurant, go to any supermarket, buy food. And I'm talking about even worse than that, is that there could be a worldwide food shortage. I mean, impacting hundreds of millions of people. So maybe we're going to have to pay more for it here, but around the world, there just won't be any. And that is, oh my goodness, can you imagine a world like that? Hey, Rich, let's listen to Newt Gingrich, and he's talking about food prices and in the crisis that we could be faced with.
Food prices are going to go up all summer. On a worldwide basis, they're going to be genuine crises, and hundreds of millions of people are going to be at risk in places like India, the Middle East, sub-Saharan Africa. I think people have no idea how bad the food situation is going to get by this summer and how expensive it's going to be by September.
Yeah, so that's a problem. I mean, this is big. Okay, we're talking about energy. Okay, just don't go anywhere, but you still got to eat.
Well, but energy is the common denominator for everything.
Yes, it is. It's because of lack
food.
of energy, it's the lack of fertilizer.
The energy, the diesel fuel is running the Caterpillars and the John Deeres and so forth that they're using on the farms. The diesel is powering the 18-wheelers, bringing the product to market. It's just unbelievable. And the thing that I find astounding is that the geniuses, these Harvard-educated fools, useful idiots, as they were called by Lenin in the Russian Revolution, have no idea how to connect the dots and understand that energy is not just for cars, that we don't have the hydrocarbon, nitrogen base, and so forth, fertilizer that's going to help us develop the crops, the depth of crop that we had, the amount of crop that we had, the quality of crop that we had. So we could feed everybody here and then ship the rest of it overseas, and that's not going to happen. Why? Because the morons in Washington don't understand real time, and they don't understand consequence, and that's a disaster.
Well, Rich,
that's what
I told you we're going to get you going in this.
Oh, I am so aggravated right now. You sit here and you know the answer, and your Samsung won't talk to you when you shout at it.
Well, Rich, hey, look, we got a great guest coming up. We got Randy Taylor, who's the CEO and co-founder of Fuel Ox. Got to listen to this. Stay with us.
Promoting American industry. This is Made in America with Neil Asbury and Rich Rothman.
Welcome back. This is Neil, together with co-host Dr. Rich. We're having a great show today, and just had great discussion about inflation. Then we talked about the food crisis, the inflation of food, but potentially the lack of food. And a lot of it's got to do, as Rich pointed out there, about the whole fossil fuel industry and fertilizer, and not having fertilizer, and the cost of fertilizer going through the roof, to where the costs of food is just escalating beyond the reach of many. And we're looking even worse than that, a crisis around the globe, to where there just will be a complete lack of food. I never thought in my life, that I would live through a crisis like that. But boy, I just don't know what that means. I just don't know what it means. But let's get back to the creativeness of the American entrepreneur. And we got the best entrepreneurs in this country, and they can fix any problem if we just let them. We just got to unshackle them, especially in the energy industry. I mean, we are so good at that. We're very pleased, Rich, to have Rand Taylor, who is the CEO and co-founder of Fuel Ox. And Fuel Ox is actually an additive that improves fuel efficiency of diesel vehicles by up to 10%. And very, very important, because diesel fuel has gone through the roof. Unbelievable. And anything we can do to help our truckers, I mean, it's only going to help us many, many fold. Rand, welcome to Made in America.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
So tell us just a little bit about your products. Fuel Ox, I mean, how did it come about, and how are you getting it to our truckers?
Yeah, Fuel Ox it was originally designed for the U.S. military at one point, about 20 years ago. And what it has is a combustion catalyst in there, which kind of separates it from everything else that you would normally see on the shelf. Also, what it does, it gets the fuel, and it works in both diesel and gasoline. So it'll work not just in your rig, but also it'll work in your car, or if you're using the commute, or your boat, or actually it'll work in your tractor, or whatever you might have that runs on a combustion engine with middle distillate fuels. But what it does, it gets the fuel to combust more thoroughly. So diesel usually combusts around 900 degrees. We actually get it to combust around 600. And by doing that, you end up with a much more thorough burn. So you're burning more of the fuel. Therefore, you're getting better fuel efficiency. But the cool thing is, too, because you're burning more of the fuel, is you're actually reducing your emissions by as much as 60 or 70% in some instances. So it's really a product that's time is here, because not only does it give you better fuel efficiency, but it's also great for the environment as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, it 100% correct. I haven't thought. I was thinking about this earlier today when I learned that you were going to be on the show, and I hadn't heard about a fuel additive in a long, long time. But I remember when I was younger and I was in upstate New York, and I had, I don't know, even the 442 or a Dodge.
Your muscle
Charger.
car days?
Yeah, my muscle car days. I had a Dodge Charger 69 RT 383 4-barrel. And we would put fuel additives in. I don't know why we needed to do that. So much bloody horsepower. And that was STP. I don't even know what STP did. But everyone was putting it in. I had to do it. So those were additives. I think it did something in the fuel line. It did something that was good for the engine. So this lowers the combustion point, which makes it more efficient. Right? That's what you're saying.
That's correct. Yep.
And you're saying that the military's been using this.
Originally, that was one of the original reasons why it was designed in the first place.
So what do you do? I mean, is it in a liquid form, and you put it in your gas tank, and it improves your efficiency up to 10%? Does that means that you get 10% more miles out of your gasoline? I mean, how does this work?
Yeah, it actually what it is it's 1 ounce of our product, believe it or not, will treat 80 gallons of fuel. So it's super concentrated.
80 gallons. Say that again. 80
so I get in my Escalade,
fuel.
I get 25 gallons in my Escalade. So that means I just need a little touch of this stuff. And
we make an 8-ounce bottle for you that'll treat 600 gallons. And it has
Is that for a regularly aspirated gas engine or just diesel? Are you just for diesel?
No. This will work in gas. He says it works in gas as well.
Oh,
yeah.
So you just put a little of this in your gas tank when you fill up. Put a little bit in there, and you'll notice the better fuel efficiency and the additional miles.
Exactly, and plus it'll clean out your injectors, because all of our if we're not using a detergent or something like that in our fuel already, which most of us aren't, you will over time get carbon building up on your injectors and sludge, a little bit of sludge maybe in the bottom of your tank, and some varnish will also get on in your tank and in your lines, and this will clean everything out. That'll break all that down, clean it all out, and it'll also add some lubrication to your upper cylinder heads and injectors as well. So it all helps with the life of your engine and your components.
Will you get? How about your warranty? Like the manufacturer's warranty, would this void it?
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing in there that will void any warranties at all. No, this has been around our product's been around in one way, shape, or form for over 20 years, and has probably been used in every known type of engine on the planet.
Listen, when I was younger, I was using these additives, and we were flying. It was great.
So I'm so intrigued. If I have 25 gallons and I pay $4 a gallon, I pay more, but so I pay $100 to fill my tank, but it's actually a little bit more.
Right.
How much would it cost me to put in your product into my gas tank? Just for that 25 gallons.
All right, so let's put it this way: if you go to our website at fuelox.com and you buy a 8-ounce bottle that treats 625 gallons, I think it costs you a little under $40. So that's about 7 cents or so, I believe, a gallon to treat a gallon of fuel. So if you're treating 25 gallons at 7 cents, 6 or 7 cents, you're looking at an added cost of about, what's that? About $1.50. Which when you're paying
so it's a hell of a lot less than paying for the gas.
This is where I love it. The man is right. This is where people are going. Do you not remember back in Jimmy Carter days, and as we migrated into Reagan when we were getting out of Carter, thank God, and number one, you had locks on your gas tank. You remember that? Because people were stealing gas. Then they were coming out with all sorts of rules. You should coast to a stop, or you shouldn't go faster than 55 miles an hour, which really was remember that?
Sammy Hagar, I can't go 55.
You're taking a 409. You're taking a 409 cubic inch engine, and you're going to go 55 miles an hour. How many people lost their mind doing that anyway? But the point of it, they came out with all these ideas on how to save gas and stretch everything out and really make it better for you. I'll bet you within 2 to 3 weeks, we got to get this cat back on the show. And then we're going to say, it's out there, isn't it? Aren't they talking about this stuff right now? What he's talking about, I'm telling people are going to want this product. They're going to go, wait a second. Let me think for a minute. $4.59 a gallon. That's not very good. I'm going to get this stuff. It's going to work.
Hey, we're not going to wait. We're going to get him right back on. We're going to get him right back on after this break. Rand Taylor, CEO, co-founder of Fuel Ox. He's going to be with us. Stay with us. Welcome to Made in America. I'm your host, Neil Asbury, together with co-host Dr. Rich Rothman. We're together with Rand Taylor, who is the CEO and co-founder of Fuel Ox.
And who's going to save them money?
This is an additive that you put into your tank, whether it's diesel or whether it's traditional fuel, and away you go, and you save a ton of money. It improves your efficiency by up to 10%. It costs pennies, and just think, you just bought $100 worth of gas. Every time, 10%, $10 more, and for a couple of pennies. So sounds to me like a good deal. Sounds to me like a good investment.
I got to ask you a question, and both of you, our guest as well as yourself. I know when I go to a gas station, first I talk to anybody anyway because I'm not intimidated. And I like to find out what people are thinking because we do it on the show. But when you look at people at a gas station right now, do they not look a little pained? Look at their expressions. They're looking at those numbers flying by, and then they're looking at the gallons just creeping by. And they're freaking out because I asked them, I said, how much you just put at that F-150? And the guy will say $126. $126. A trucker, last night, I was listening on Tucker, was saying it cost him $1,200. $1,200, guys, to fill a tank for an 18-wheeler. Where do you think that's going to go?
Well, that's $120 discount with Fuel Ox.
It's unbelievable.
So Rand, why don't more people know about this? Because there's not. I just don't see a dialogue going on about it. Maybe it's happening, and I just don't know about it.
I think there's a couple reasons for it. Number one is that, and I'll be totally frank with you, the fuel additive industry has gone through a bit of a bad spell in that there were a lot of fuel additives out as we talked about in the 70s and 80s. That were amazing. Like you had stuff coming out that was just phenomenal, but it also tore up people's engines. They were putting stuff in there that left residue and left metal buildup on your carburetors and everything, and it totally trashed the valves and engines were being just destroyed by fuel additives back in the 70s and 80s. So a lot of people got away from them because they got scared of them. And quite honestly, fuel additives as a rule don't really have a huge effect other than to clean engines out and protect the injectors and keep the fuel stable. These are all good things, okay? But they don't necessarily translate into better fuel efficiency. So consequently, people, what's that?
Yeah, no, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, I was going to say, so consequently, people that bought fuel additives were only doing it really to just keep their engine healthy, and a lot of people, frankly, didn't care. But now when you talk about a combustion catalyst like we have, and we're one of the very few companies in the country or in the world for that matter, that actually offer a combustion catalyst. that actually improves the combustion and can prove that we get to better fuel efficiency. Now when fuel goes from $2 a gallon to $4 a gallon, or in the case of diesel from $3.50 to $6.50, wow, saving 5%, saving 7% now, 8%. These are big numbers. And in the past, no one really cared.
Yeah, let me tell you what's going to happen. So we're listening to Biden, and we're listening to the geniuses that work with him and get together. Fortunately, today's, I guess this is this week's Psaki's last week, because she gets for her real job, which is MSNBC. But you know what they're putting in the engines again, en masse, larger? Ethanol. Now, what does ethanol do? Maybe you want to talk about an additive that really screws up your engine? It's ethanol. Ethanol is so detrimental for your car. Basically, flex fuel, I say that 3 times, Neil. Flex fuel engines can handle a high ethanol content in the fuel. Most engines cannot. Why? Because exactly what Rand just pointed out. It gums up your engine. It slows things down. It makes it more, it makes it less efficient. It makes it more dirty than it was before you ever did that. In short, it's not a good thing to put in an engine, and that's why we got away from it. And also at the same time, we're talking about, supply chains, we're talking about fuel, we're talking about food costs. If you start competing with the farmers for corn, and corn stops going to the cows and the bulls and so forth and into the meat market, so they can raise the cattle on corn, which American beefers do, and it goes instead into energy, 8 units of energy to create 1 unit of ethanol. How inefficient is that? And B, the cost of corn goes from $2, $3, $4 a bushel, goes to $10, $11, $12 a bushel. Where do you think that's going to wind up? When you go to the supermarket, you're paying more for meat. When you go to a restaurant, you're paying more for meat. When you go to McDonald's, all those other fast food restaurants, you're paying more for a hamburger. This is such a bad deal. This is such a bad deal with ethanol and corn. They have no idea. Newt Gingrich was right in the quote. Now, Rand, you have a few minutes left. Let's talk about. I think what you've got is a really good idea, and if it really works, and I take your word at it, it really works, you're going to clean engines, you're going to save fuel, and you're going to put money back in everyone's pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to give you better fuel efficiency. It's going to keep your engines running longer.
Hey, Rand, unfortunately, we're out of time. This is great to have you with us. We really learned a lot. You got an incredible product. And we need to also emphasize that it reduces emissions, which is also a good thing.
Exactly.
Rand Taylor, CEO and co-founder of FuelOx. FuelOx. Remember that, FuelOx.
FuelOx.
Hey, Rand, come back and see us again real soon.
Would love to. Thanks, fellas.
Coming up, Dr. Rich and I have some final thoughts for the day. Welcome to Made in America. I'm your host, Neil Asbury, together with co-host Dr. Rich Ruffman. So, Rich, a great show. I mean, that FuelOx, we're going to have to get Rand back here soon and just talk about the whole diesel fuel crises that we're seeing. I mean, time was when diesel was
the cheapest.
much less. I mean,
it was the cheapest.
People were doing diesel because it costs 25-30% less.
That's right.
Than regular or, the lowest cost of regular gasoline.
Can you imagine the people who went out and bought diesel engines for exactly what you just said? And they go, I finally got it. I got a diesel engine. Oh, my God, this is great. Now they're paying 2.5 times of everybody else. It's horrible.
Yeah. I mean,
horrible.
And I was going to ask, I mean, when did that happen? I mean, when did it flip? Because, forever, diesel fuel was much less expensive. Now we're talking about a shortage. Now, can you imagine baby formula? We don't have any baby formula. Now we're going to have any diesel gas in this country. I mean, the whole trucking industry is diesel. I mean, you got to replace all of these rigs. You can't do that. I mean, it's going to take a generation.
So let me ask you this. This is a scary question. Would you think that Pete Buttigieg is in charge of that as the Secretary of Transportation?
Well, he's, come on, Rich. He's got it under control. He's 3 or 4 moves ahead of everybody. He's kind of like playing 3D chess. So he's seeing it at all different levels. You know that.
For those who obviously can't see me, I'm going to look right into the bank. Oh, that's right. They can't see me. I'm looking to the sky, folks. That's what I'm looking to.
Yeah, if as Senator Kennedy, he's one of our favorite people, and
he's hysterical.
He says, well, if you believe that, then you believe Jimmy Hoffa died of natural causes. So obviously we don't believe that. But anyway, let's listen. Senator Kennedy is a great guy, and we always love to listen to his comments. And here
his
we are.
Wisdom.
We're kind of getting to the end of the show, and we always want to kind of end on a light note. So let's start off with, we got a couple of clips of Senator Kennedy. These are really great. Let's listen to the first one.
Let me give you a couple of thoughts. I don't mean to be uncharitable, but sometimes I think President Biden just doesn't eat enough fiber. He said today, for example, as you pointed out, that he bears no responsibility whatsoever for inflation. I think most Americans are thinking, right, and Jimmy Hoffa died of natural causes. Also, the stripper really likes you.
The man's got a way with words.
Yeah, I guess so. He does.
But you become president because you are in control. You're the guy, right? And
well, allegedly, yes.
Yeah, you're the guy, and it's not like it's like everybody else's thought. I don't think that there's been one thing that that hasn't been their thought. I mean, everything is everybody else's fault. I mean, it's like there's nothing. They have no responsibility for anything. Nothing.
No,
no responsibility.
His answer the other day was an attack on the Republicans and an attack on President Trump. That was his answer to all the problems and inflation in the country. That's not even a plan. That's what they were talking about earlier in the show. There is no plan. There's only an attack. An attack doesn't solve anything.
That's right. Listen to another clip from Senator Kennedy.
The truth is that the Biden administration just keeps kicking its own ass.
I think that sums it up, doesn't it?
Well, the solutions are there, right? The solutions are there. Everybody knows what needs to get done, but they won't do it.
No, it's worse than that, Neil. It's worse.
And I think Senator Kennedy just has a way of saying that.
He summarized that
in his own way.
But think for a minute. So here we know our fuel costs are just flying through the roof. It's terrible. We need oil and gas, and the world needs oil and gas. And the solution for our president and his administration: take 1 million acres off. Can't have those leases anymore. Up in Alaska, we're shutting it down. In the worst oil crisis in the history of maybe 100. This is worse than OPEC, if you think about it. This is worse than OPEC.
And we got one more before we end. Here we go.
Here's his energy policy. Wind, solar, and wishful thinking. Mm-hmm. He thinks he can run the greatest economy, the most powerful economy in all of human history without fossil fuels. And that's one of the main reasons why the prices at the pump are so high.
But it goes deeper than that, right? I mean, the cost of fertilizer, the food. We're having a food crisis. We're going to have a worldwide food shortage.
Diesel
everything.
It's goes
just
into
not
trains.
At the pump. It's so much bigger than that.
Diesel, electric. Those are the trains. Did you have Lionel trains when you were a kid? Santa Fe, diesel, electric. It's going to be really bad.
Well, Rich, unfortunately, we're out of time. But we're going to be back again next week for another adventure of Made in America, where we never stop fighting for your jobs.